Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Makakodash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to all for elect, hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Alright, I'm your brother Iwalum from the GMS West Palm Beach Camp, back with another lesson. This lesson was inspired by, a dialogue that, we had with a Christian after camp, and it sparked through the spirit of how Christians, are showing how they don't got it in these last days, because when we were going, I hate to say back and forth, but then again, we are defenders of the gospel, because, we don't like to go back and forth with, for lack of a better word, dummies. But if it's to defend the gospel of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, we're gonna defend the gospel, But Jake came up, inquired what we were, preaching about, what we were doing out here. And brothers let him know what was going on, And even though the truth was coming out, scriptures were coming out, Jake still was rebuttaling against what was coming out. And that goes to show you that they don't believe in the Bible. Christians do not believe in the Bible, because with all the precepts that Akim was bringing out, he was bringing out his own thoughts, his own words. All right, he was bringing out, what he believed according to his own heart, but not what the scriptures were saying, man. So it came to the point where, bros was fed up with him, man. But even with his defeat, he could not walk away. And that shows you the pride of, these Christians. Like, they think that they got it. And that's the plague of the heart right there when you think about it. You think that you got it. You know the Most High. His only begotten Son. And you really don't. You know why? Because you have that veil of Christianity over your eyes. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 29, and verse 13. It says, "Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men." You see, so if you ever, you believers, you ever encounter a Christian, all right, and you hear them talk, they're bringing up points that have nothing to do with the Bible, man. All right, such as the pre-tribulation rapture, all right, such as God, who they call Jesus Christ, died, for all the nations, for the Gentiles to come in, and we were even, bringing out certain points about the Gentiles, but he could not understand that, man, because he was already set in his mind. It was already set in his mind that he was right and we were wrong, and that's the reason why brothers really got fed up with him, because, we're always excited, and passionate to preach the truth and preach the word. But the problem is that he was not listening to understand. He was listening to rebuttal. He was listening to say, "Ha, I'm right, you're wrong." You see, and that's why he could not leave even after he was cut through the scriptures, because he wanted to be right. You see, and that's how we can tell through the spirit, all right, who's faking, all right, and who's really trying to learn. Because those really trying to learn, they're gonna listen. They're gonna come up as a babe, wanting to learn. But this guy, he came up, he really came up to rebuttal, to try to tear down what the truth is saying, man. But you really can't do it. The scripture says that, for we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. After that, there was really nothing more to say. And from that point moving forward, that guy's marked, man. We know that the Lord put it on his spirit to come get some understanding of the truth, to come get what he's talking about. And who knows, the Lord may have mercy on him, where he goes back and look into, all right, the Israelites. He goes back and look at what's really being taught. Lord may have mercy on him. But the way it seemed when we spoke to him, he was consumed in the lies of Christianity, man. And that's the big thing with, Christianity is the biggest religion in the world, man. All right. Everybody are besides the believers in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, in some shape or form, all right, believe in Christianity and believe in, Jesus the Christ. And when I say Jesus, I'm talking about the white dude that's been painted, all right, to represent the Messiah. Because when people say Jesus, when they think about Jesus, they're thinking about an Edomite coming to save them, or coming in the clouds to pretty much save them from the 7-year tribulation. You see the madness? Let's go to book of Revelation. The book of Revelation, chapter 20. In verse 7 actually is where I want to go. Right here. Revelation chapter 20 verse 7. And it says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, and when you understand the scriptures and prophecy, the 1,000-year period represents when the Edomites were in a low state, a low position. See, when it says Satan right here, it's not talking about a spiritual demon Satan. Satan just means adversary. All right? To be against. And Esau, Edom, the so-called white nation, is the adversary of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai and the Israelites. All right? Shaitan. So it says that, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. All right? And that's talking about when the so-called white nation, all right, came out of the Caucasus Mountains. All right? They came out of that low state, that caveman-like state. All right? And when they came out of power, when they came into power, they referred to it as the Renaissance period, which means rebirth of the Edomite way, rebirth of the Roman Empire. So in the process of the rebirth of Esau's rulership, one of the biggest things that he would do is deceive the world. All right, as it's about to read. I'm gonna jump down to verse 10. And the devil, let me see. Is this the one on? Okay, right here, Salakia. This is actually the one that I wanted, where it talks about how he deceived. All right. Matter of fact, I should start from verse 1. Salakia for that. I want the point where it talks about how Satan should deceive the nations. All right. Revelation 20 and verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven. And that angel is Yahushai. All right. When you read the book of Matthew, the 28th chapter, Yahushai, at the end of the verse, the chapter, Yahushai says, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Okay. So Yahushua has been given power in heaven and in earth. So when it says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. The chain represents captivity, bondage. All right, so Yahushua, has the power to bound the nations and to lose nations. Okay? I.e., when Esau, Edom was bound, Yahushua is the one who put him in that low-like state, that low-like position. And when Esau, Edom was loosed from that low state, Yahushua loosed him. Okay, verse 2 says, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Okay? That old serpent, Salakia, Satan is talking about the so-called white race. They go back all the way to the garden. The same spirits, man. See? And not to veer off from the topic at hand, but you know, the two main characters of the story is Jacob and Esau. All right, and these spirits goes back all the way to the beginning of Cain and Abel. And if you can receive it and understand reincarnation, you know, Jacob, you know, was Abel, and Esau was Cain. That same spirit, you know, came back with the hatred for his brother. You see, verse 2 says, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, you see, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more. You see? That he should deceive the nations no more. Okay, that's all Esau is known for. He's known for deceiving. He's known for the sword. See, two of Esau's greatest weapons is deception. Well, the number one, all right, weapon is the sword. That's his blessing. All right, and another one is deception. You know, so you can see this is how Edom took over the world, through the sword and deception. So when you go back to the Renaissance period, the so-called white man, you know, he what they call iconoclasm, pretty much when they replaced the so-called the dark images, all right, the so-called black images of our people ruling, and they made them all white people. Okay, and that includes, you know, the correct depiction of the Most High and His only begotten Son and the Israelites. Right? It says, and set a seal upon him, that he would deceive the nations no more, till 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. All right, and he was loosed a little season. We're living in that little season right now, because Esau's rulership right now, compared to our 1,000 years or eternity, that's just a small number. Okay, so Salaki. My point of bringing this out was because the deception that Edom has done since he came out of that low state, that caveman-like state, the Caucasus Mountains, all right, has an effect until this day, on the minds of these people. All right, has an effect until this day, on the world, man. Because people still believe that a so-called white man, all right, is coming back to save them. They are, all right, before the tribulation happens, man. It's just a lot of confusion, a lot of madness. All right, and Tawada Yahweh Bashim Yahushai for removing us out of that madness, man. Because I'm not going to front, I was one of those that believed that the Lord looked like a so-called white man before the truth, man. You know, I was the one that believed that there was going to be a pre-tribulation rapture. You know, and a lot of people that believe in the pre-tribulation rapture, they're in for a rude awakening. You know, because when that chip, all right, is being presented to the world, you know, they're going to still be looking for a pre-tribulation, which is not going to happen. Hey, Yahweh Shai said, "He that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved." Right? So that means you got to endure the chip, endure the persecution, endure the famines, endure everything, all right, and still make it to the end to be saved. You see? But these Christians, they don't have it set in their mind that these things are going to happen. So what they have in their mind is that, you know, the Lord is coming back before all hell breaks loose. And what makes you special? All right, what are you doing to serve the Lord that makes you special to go to get out of here before the tribulation happens? You see what I'm saying? Like they're exempted from catching hell. You know, these Christians, they serve the Lord. They will, in their way, they say they serve the Lord, of course, but according to them, they serve the Lord when it's convenient for them. All right. It be times where they won't. I know people that won't go to church if they don't feel like it. You know, they'll probably go to church on Sundays, but if they don't feel like going to church, you know, they're gonna fall back for that one Sunday go to church next week. That's not perfectly serving the Lord. See, there are brothers out there that still go out to camp regardless of what they're going through in their life. You might be injured. You're still going out to camp. And in a day of camp you miss a day of camp, you feel like the Lord's not, going to take the spirit from you, man. That's the fearful thing of the Lord, man. That's the thing with fearing Yahweh Shem Shah. These Christians don't have the fear of the Lord. Why? Because they believe that, the blood of Christ, as they say, has already redeemed them. So they don't really got to put in no work. They just got to believe on the blood, which, the blood of Yahweh Shai, of course, you got to believe in that. That goes without saying. All right, but there comes, an action in the faith and the belief in Yahweh Shai, man. All right, but these Christians, they take it out of context when the scriptures talk about the blood of a Mashiach. That means they're trampling over the Lord's sacrifice. You see? Which brings me back to the topic at hand. These Christians, man, all right, they don't really believe in the Bible. All right, okay, it seems as though I don't want to ramble nothing like that. Just through the spirit. They seem to just want to speak out of their heart. 1 John chapter, was it 2? It's lucky because I'm driving right now, so I'm trying to multitask. But where it says, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit. Because this guy, in a way, was a false prophet. Because because you best believe he's telling people that there's going to be a rapture that happens, before the tribulation happens. This is 1 John chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of the Most High, because many false prophets are going out into the world. You see? And that's what we were doing through the spirit, man. Certain points that were being brought out, was really trying his spirit. And all right, and he showed that he did not believe. Because when points was coming out, he was shaking his head. He wasn't saying like, I disagree with this, I disagree with that. But he was shaking his head like, nah, I don't agree with that. Although we were bringing out precepts, and he did not bring out one precept. And that's something that you're gonna see commonly among unbelievers, is that they'll bring no precepts, out whenever they want to say something or argue something. It's always coming from the heart or from their understanding. Because we dealt with a clown like that last week. That's the spirit. We dealt with a Christian clown like that last week, who wanted to share his opinion on the Bible. All right, and marvel and to no surprise, it was about the same thing, about the blood of Christ, as they say, right? But he was bringing out no precepts concerning what he was saying. And man, every brother was bringing out a precept to cut him, man. All right, but that just go to show you that who the Spirit of the Lord is really abiding with, man. All right, so the Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to those that watched. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to those who are hearing this word in truth and in sincerity. Until next time, I say shalom.